Let's start by defining a clause. A clause, like the phrase, is also made up of a group of words, but a clause will have a verb in it, making it almost like a sentence with its own subject and predicate. Let's see some examples. He wore a chain of gold. He wore a chain that was made of gold. Now the first sentence has a phrase of gold. The second sentence means the same, but instead of a phrase we have a clause that says that was made of gold. Both are simple sentences. Some sentences have just one clause, some have more than one. When the whole sentence is made up of just one clause, we call it a simple sentence. A simple sentence will therefore have just one finite verb, no matter how long the sentence may be. Let's see some examples. All these sentences are simple sentences. Some are long, some are short, but they all have only one verb. Rani is absent today. He walks to school every day. He lost his pen. My brother teaches me French in the evening. The teacher with her class visited the museum. So all the verbs have been highlighted. These are all simple sentences. But you must remember that there are words which have a verb plus ing in them, and there are words that have to followed by a verb. These are not finite verbs. Now let's learn what compound sentences are. When a sentence is made up of two clauses of equal importance and each is not dependent on the other, it is called a compound sentence. So in a simple sentence we had just one clause, whereas in a compound sentence we have two clauses and both are equally important and they are not dependent on each other. A compound sentence will therefore have more than one finite verb. It has two clauses, so there will be two verbs, and the two sentences will be joined together by a conjunction. Let's see some examples. The police arrived and the robbers ran away. So we have two clauses or two sentences. The police arrived and we have the robbers ran away. Both these sentences are joined by the conjunction and there are two verbs, so this is a compound sentence. Let's see some more. She is clever, but she is not hardworking. So is the verb that has been used twice, and both the sentences are joined by but. You must go early or you will not get tickets for the show. I burst my banks of sand and we swept their wooden bridge away. The gods ran to stop her, but she escaped down the hills. When a sentence has two clauses, one which is more important for the meaning, we call it a complex sentence. Therefore, it has a main clause and a subordinate clause. This kind of sentence will also have two or more finite verbs. The subordinate clause plays the role of a single part of speech. Therefore, the three kinds of subordinate clauses are Adjective Clause, Adverb Clause, and Noun Clause. Now let's define an adjective clause. An adjective clause, like an adjective, describes the noun it qualifies in a sentence. Adjective clauses begin with relative pronouns like who, whom, whose, that, which, and where. Let's see some examples. Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was as white as snow. Now, the adjective clause, whose fleece was as white as snow, describes the lamb, which is the noun in this sentence. We all admire people who are polite. Now, this describes the people we are talking about in the sentence. Do you know the road that leads to the temple? People who eat unhealthy food fall sick often. Now this clause describes people. Waves that were 50 feet high were crashing all around the deck. So this clause, that were 50 feet high were crashing, is describing the waves that are the noun in this sentence. Adverb clause. Like an adverb clause describes an action in a sentence. And like an adverb clauses also have the following categories according to the role in a sentence. Let's see these categories. Adverb clause of time. This will have conjunctions like when, after, before, and since at the beginning of the clause. So we'll see an example. You can go home after you finish your laboratory work. Adverb clause of place. This will begin with conjunctions like where and wherever. Let's see an example. You can go wherever you want. Adverb clause of condition. This will begin with conjunctions like if, unless, and whether. Let's see an example. I shall not go unless I am invited. Adverb clause of reason. This begins with conjunctions like because, since, as, etc. Let's see an example of an adverb clause of reason. I shall help you because I like your work. Adverb clause of result. This begins with conjunctions so that, such that pairs. Let's see an example. They fought so bravely that the enemy surrendered. Adverb clause of purpose. This has conjunctions like lest and in order that at the beginning of the clause. Example, I shall give you a road map lest you should miss your way. Adverb clause of concession. This has a conjunction like though, although, and even though and even if in the subordinate clause. For example, though he is poor, he is very honest. Noun clause. The noun clause, like a noun, can be used as the subject or an object in a sentence governed by a preposition. It generally answers the question what after the main verb in the sentence. Let's see an example. What he says about his school is true. Now here the noun clause is the subject and we ask the question what is true? What he says about his school is true. So what he says about his school is your noun clause. He says that he will pay tomorrow. Here the noun clause is the object. So he says what? He says that he will pay tomorrow. attention to what I have to say. Now this kind of a noun clause is governed by a preposition. So pay attention to what? To what I have to say. That is your noun clause. Now let's look at these sentences. Jaya is sure that she will win the prize. Here the noun clause is the object. What he said was a lie. It's the subject here. They insisted on saying it was a mistake. Now here it is the object of a preposition and it is governed by the preposition. I cannot hear what you are saying. Do you know that there is a transport strike?